Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 7th Psychology Studies Student Conference. We appreciate your prompt arrival and patience, and to give you guys an overview of what to expect, every year our Year 3 students undertake their major projects in collaboration with internal or external industry partners to present their findings. The Psychology Conference allows students to showcase their project outcomes to industry partners, TP lecturers, and of course you students, who will be doing the same in 1 or 2 years' time. So before we go straight into the conference, let me introduce Mr. Ben Lim, who is the Director of HSS, to give us his welcoming address. We are truly honored to have you with us today, and we'll hope you enjoy this program's conference. Mr. Ben Lim, please.
Thank you, Claudia. Firstly, Happy New Year to everybody. 新年快乐，身体健康. A very good afternoon to our keynote speaker, Dr. Vincent Ng, CEO of AMK FSC Community Services Limited, valued industry partners, colleagues from TP, alumni, and students. A warm welcome to everyone. This is the 7th year that the School of Humanities and Social Sciences is hosting the Psychology Studies Student Conference, and we're happy that you could join us. Now, 2020 last year was an extremely challenging year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Psychology Studies Student Conference was one of the events we had to cancel as a result of the pandemic. In the normal times, we would have been delighted at the opportunity to welcome you to the campus. So this year, however, we are pleased to host our first online version of this conference. Although this is a deviation from how we would have conducted this conference in previous years, I remain confident that students and guests alike will find the relevant takeaways from it. Since the Diploma in Psychology Studies admitted its first cohort of students in 2008, that's some 13 years ago, we have been working closely with industry partners on research and internships. With the introduction of the Center for Applied Behavioral and Social Sciences, CAPS in short, in January 2020, the Center has facilitated even more extensive industry collaborations with new and existing partners. Today, I'm happy to say that a majority of the projects that you see here today involves either an internal Temasek Poly partner or an external partner, and we are happy to highlight and showcase the various projects that the students have been working on. Just to give everyone an idea of what is in store for today, the Psychology Studies Interest Group President, Sherlyn Lee, will be giving a short summary of the various projects that have been undertaken not only by the current final year students, but also by the students who graduated last year. As mentioned, last year's students didn't get a chance to showcase their projects due to COVID-19. So hopefully the overview will give everyone a sense of what they have accomplished. After the summary, our current final year students will be presenting their projects live in the breakout rooms. They will take the form of 3 presentation tracks. 1, Social Services and Special Needs. 2, Applied Psychology. And 3, Behavioral Insights. Now, these projects highlight 2 key strengths of the Diploma in Psychology Studies. The first strength is the Diploma's broad-based curriculum, which exposes students to a wide variety of applications of psychology. The second strength is a strong focus on applied research, which, as I am sure we will see today, has enabled students to execute applied projects with meaningful real-world applications and impact. Now, at this juncture, it is important for me to thank all our industry partners with us here today for giving our students the opportunity to work on real-life research projects with real-world applications. Our relationship with you, our industry partners, is very crucial to us. This is because of 2 key reasons. First, we strive to produce capable graduates who have the skills that are relevant to meet industry needs. Second, we strive to provide relevant and meaningful training courses for adult learners who are already in the industry. Therefore, we look forward to fruitful and continued partnerships with you and to forging new partnerships with other industry partners who are present here today. On that note, I wish to specially thank our panelists, Ms. Sabrina Ho from the National Healthcare Group Population Division and Ms. Janice Cheong from REACH, which stands for Reaching Everyone for Active Citizenry at Home, who will be discussing the experiences on project collaborations with our students. I also want to extend my appreciation to Dr. Vincent Ng, who is also a member of our school advisory committee, for delivering the keynote address. Thank you all for sharing today. And finally, to our students, today you'll be presenting the results of your very own research. I'm proud of the effort you have put in and the results of your labor, and I wish you all the best. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Over to you, please, Claudia.
So sorry. Thank you, Mr. Van Lim, for your speech. Indeed, COVID-19 has heavily impacted us, where prior to it, we held our conferences in real life, but because of this, we shifted it online. Nonetheless, we're very grateful for this opportunity, and we hope that you and the other guests will also enjoy the conference just the same. Now, we have another esteemed guest, and I'll just be briefly introducing him. He is the CEO of AMK Community Service Limited, completed his PhD in social work at NUS, and prior to joining, he served as a social worker in both the public and medical sectors. Under his guidance, FSC has grown from 3 FSC centers to a dynamic multi-service agency that now caters to a diverse group of vulnerable populations ranging from children, youth at risk, troubled families, and the elderly. And that is Dr. Vincent Ng. All right, Dr. Ng, I will not keep you waiting any longer. The stage is yours.
Hi, good morning to all of you. First and foremost, I'm delighted to be here, and I want to congratulate all the students. You are so close. You're so close to completing your diploma in psychology studies at Temasek Polytechnic, and what's going to await you are very exciting things. Psychology is a very important area of studies, and it examines the mind and how it dictates and influences our behavior, from communication and memory to thoughts and emotions. As psychology-trained individuals, you are primed to understand and change human behavior for the better, as well as to consider and address what cannot be seen by the naked eye. In today's society where mental health concerns are rising, your knowledge will help to facilitate understanding, awareness, and intervention in our community, so as to resolve both internal and external stress. This is especially crucial now as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. All over the world, we find that people are suffering from stress, anxiety, and isolation. Looking back at what you have learned in the past 3 years, you will realize that your newfound knowledge and strengths, whether it is assessing, communicating, and even empathy, can be used as a foundation to help many vulnerable communities out there. Our population sees many vulnerable communities that have wide and complex needs, right? And these individuals and families, they are often served in the social service sector, which is the sector I'm from. Here you'll find yourself translating theories into many fulfilling practices, from the field of special education to early intervention to disability support, and of course, in mental health services as well. With further training, there are 2 key areas of work that you will discover to be very relevant in the social service sector. The first is what I call investigative work. By using a myriad of scientific research, interviews, and assessment tools, psychology practitioners are able to explain behaviors and outcomes that are seen in the cases that we handle in the social service sector. Now, these findings and recommendations are crucial because they make an impact. They define how other social service professionals tackle each unique scenario. For instance, with this deeper understanding of how a child's thinking pattern and needs, a social worker may tap on more targeted resources to better support the child's development. Teachers can understand their students better so as to implement suitable educational interventions. And for counselors, they support a child's emotional needs together with the caregiver. So as you can see, the core of the many roles in our sector is dependent on the psychological investigative work that you can offer. The second kind of work is intervention. Following in the investigating and assessing, you'll find that you'll find yourself learning the ropes and techniques of behavior intervention as a psychology practitioner. Across the social service industry, many professionals seek the crucial insights and techniques that can improve behavioral issues, from classroom strategies to manage children with ADHD, to youth with crime tendencies that need to learn self-control skills and also to process some of the past trauma. Now over here, you see that these are some of the services, that a psychology trained professional like many of you can embark on, helping with group psychotherapy for children. And this person who is doing counseling, psychological intervention, she is our psychologist, Vicky, right? She's helping a youth addressing some of her trouble, emotional issues. Yeah. Now, due to the complexity of the cases across different services, the needs of the community, such as financial, emotional security, and many more, they often intertwine and require psychological interventions to manage and solve. So initiatives that go beyond the norm, such as creating an app, right, so that we can build a more socially inclusive community for persons with mental health concerns, and also to reach out to more digital savvy society, right? So over here, you look at it is an app that you can download over at Google Play and also in the Apple Store. It's called I'm Okay, Are You? So it's an app that's developed, right, by psychology trained professionals, right? Yeah. So these are very key and interesting work that you can really look forward to. So social service is not an easy sector to work in, but it is definitely a rewarding one, where you can see your day-to-day work come into fruition in improving and empowering the lives of the vulnerable communities. You get to work closely with clients and their families, and you can see directly the impact of your psychology skills in elevating the needs of these people. Now, what makes working in this sector exciting is also the element of collaboration. You cannot truly understand behavior based on just speaking with an individual. You go beyond working with just the client to connecting with other professionals and relevant parties. So this will help to form a truly comprehensive assessment of what is happening, and then we tailor our intervention. After all, the occurrences of many human problems, they are often systemic and influenced by multitude of factors in one's life. So we cannot afford to be working in silos, and coming together with the different expertise of various professional practitioners, such as the social work, the early childhood, counseling, these are essential, right? Because many of the stakeholders, they are involved in the client's progress. As psychology trained practitioners, we are the experts in human behavior. We can identify the people and the networks that are necessary to support our clients as they go through positive change in their life. Now, as you can see, when we leave our comfort zone to collaborate with others, we don't just bring hope to another person's life. We find ourselves flourishing in ways that we never expect. Studying psychology opens up a world of opportunities for all of you. Indeed, I'm quite sure that many of you are going to look forward to pursuing further studies, the most clear-cut route being a degree and a master's in psychology. This helps you to specialize in a few areas later on in the field of psychology, from educational side to forensic side to clinical side and also counseling side. Or if you may wish to also dip your toes into working life first, you can venture into the social service sector. Now, I understand that the cohort here is about between 50 to 60 each year. And I was just sharing with Ben that all of you are going to be like hotcakes. The moment when you graduate, there's so many employers who are willing to just offer you opportunities to work with them. Mine included, of course, because I do have a number of associates who are graduates of this program. So you can take on the roles of social work associates, research associates, or even student care teacher. These are the ways to explore your interests and discover the journey you wish to take in your career. One example is Jasmine. Jasmine was a previous graduate of the psychology diploma. Right? She first joined us as an associate at our senior service, and thereafter she has gone on to do her degree in social work. So she's now a fully qualified social worker, and she is now with our Nexus Reintegration Service, which helps ex-offenders and their families. So there's a very interesting quote. Let me read out from Jasmine, because I asked her for that quote. So Jasmine said that taking the diploma in psychology has enabled her to gain deeper insights into human behavior, and also really taught her how to empathize better with her clients. So she has really developed very effective ways to serve and help the clients overcome their challenges and needs. Now, whatever path that you choose to take, there is no question that your understanding of the human psychology can take you through many professions, especially in the social service sector. Carve a niche out for yourself as a psychologist, as a social worker, a counselor, an early childhood, even a student care teacher, or a youth work specialist. The possibilities are all out there, and it is for you to discover how fulfilling it can be to serve our community. Do not be afraid to explore your interest and passion. What you have that is ahead of you, which is your greatest asset, is your youth, right? It's your youth. So don't be afraid. Venture out, explore, and you never know what you might find to be your true calling. And lastly, congratulations once again to all of you. I wish you all the best in making your first step into a very meaningful career as a helping professional person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ng, for your speech and for your service towards the social service sector. I was listening to your speech, and indeed, investigative work and interventions are very important for a psychology professional. So to show our token of appreciation, TP will actually be sending over a small gift to your office, so do keep a lookout for that. Okay, so let me invite Charlene, who is the current president of our Psychology Studies Interest Group, to brief us on the overview of our students' projects. Ms. Charlene, please.
Thank you, Dr. Vincent Ng, for the opening speech. It was truly enlightening to hear about your experiences working in the AMK FSC Community Services Limited and the life that you have empowered through your work. Once again, I would like to welcome our distinguished guests, TP staff, and my fellow psychology students to our 7th Psychology Studies Students Conference. I'm Charlene, the current president for our Psychology Studies Interest Group. Thank you for taking the time out of a busy schedule to attend this conference. I will start by sharing more about diploma. So in our diploma, students are trained to be workforce ready in the social service and special needs education sector in diverse roles. There's a strong emphasis on training students in research and collaborative projects with external organizations. For most of the projects that are shared here today, they are brought in by our school's research center, known as the Center for Applied Behavior and Social Science, otherwise known as CAPS, as well as the staff from the center. Together with the lecturers in the diploma, they play a major role in guiding our students through these projects. CAPSS undertake applied research and translational project and offers consultancy services in the domain of behavioral and social sciences. The center was formed after our Center of Applied Psychology merged with the Gerontology Center and serves as a platform for our students and staffs to collaborate frequently with external partners. Our partners include social service organizations, special needs organizations, agencies from public service, private organizations, and research centers from other institutions. We provide our expertise to complete projects undertaken by our partners. In short, the center aims to bridge the existing gaps between theoretical research and applied field practice with behavioral and social science knowledge. For the past 2 years, our projects fall into the following three categories: social services and special needs, behavioral insights, and applied psychology. Our diploma offers training and education related to the social service and special needs sector, with modules like Introduction to Social Service and Assessments and Interventions in Special Needs Education. Our students can apply what they have learned into social service projects, and many seek employment in the relevant organizations after their graduation. In fact, our alumni have shared that the training provided at their social service organizations is similar to what they have learned in the diploma, which helps them adapt to the working environment fairly easily. Psychology studies the science behind human behavior, and one of the interesting disciplines taught is behavioral insights, otherwise known as BI. BI believe that as humans, we are susceptible to influences from our immediate environment, such as our emotions, short-sightedness, and contextual environment. It studies how we make decisions and behave in everyday situations and develop new methods and interventions to help people achieve a certain behavior. For instance, BI is used to increase recycling behavior, reduce littering, opt for a healthier diet, and is even used in policy making. You will be able to see BI concepts applied into projects by our students later. Last but not the least, we also undertake applied psychology projects. Many people have the misconception that psychology is limited to clinical work and counseling. In fact, psychology is an interdisciplinary study and can be applied in diverse settings, such as healthcare, business, engineering, and design. As the name suggests, our students apply different theories and concepts learned in the diploma to solve practical problems. Some examples include developing materials to teach growth mindset and protocols to improve work performance. Now that we understand the nature of different projects, I will now share projects done in the past academic year by our seniors. Previously, our psychology conference only presents projects done in the current academic year. However, due to COVID-19, the conference was cancelled last year, and our seniors did not get to showcase their projects. To honor their efforts, I will be sharing their projects in their stead. I will first focus on projects related to the social service and special needs. The first project is done in collaboration with NCSS, and our students further develop on a toolkit used to support caregivers, and at the same time develop a way to evaluate it. The second project is done in collaboration with AWA and identified different needs of caregivers with children with developmental needs. Programs to resolve these needs are also proposed. The third project is a collaboration with Ojoy Care Services and explored whether its health-oriented aging program achieved its objectives, with promising results found. The fourth project is a collaboration with Trampoline to develop a guide for individuals with high-functioning autism on how they can communicate with their colleagues as well as their clients in their workplace. I'll now be moving on to projects related to behavioral insights. The current project is a collaboration with MLC and IMDA and found that parental mediation was linked to their children's reduced usage of digital devices. The study also evaluated which parental approach is useful in further reduction. The second project is a collaboration with NTUC Food Fair and proposed BI interventions to encourage healthy eating and tray return habits in hawker centres. The third project is a collaboration with Newer presently known as MSC, propose BI interventions to encourage Singaporeans to adopt e-waste recycling behaviors. The fourth project is a collaboration with an organization that hosts MIC events, and BI interventions were proposed to improve survey rates pertaining to staff members' service excellence. Next, I'll cover projects related to applied psychology. The first project developed an assessment tool to evaluate bilingual Singaporeans' language proficiency as well as their linguistic ability. The second project collaborates with NHG to develop growth mindset materials for students in lower primary. The third project is an internal project of our own, and our students develop a multimedia-based situational judgment test to help in the selection of TP's EAE candidates with recommendations made for future improvements. The fourth project collaborates with A-Star and found that hybridizing technology and human eye tracking mechanism will reduce errors made during visual inspections of commercial aircrafts. Next, I will share projects done by our graduating cohort. So let's start with social services and special needs again. The current project is a continuation project, and our students further revised the caregiving toolkit and an orientation package to better address the needs of caregivers. The next project is a collaboration with DAS and identified different types of educational technology, its adoption, and learning outcomes for students in the organization. The next project is a collaboration with Minds and explored whether current resources provided to caregivers for individuals with intellectual disability is effective. Based on the findings, the organization improved on existing resources to better support their caregivers. The next project is a collaboration with REACH, and our students created a mental health literacy program for SPED teachers to better identify when their students experience mental distress. I'll now cover projects related to BI. This project collaborates with MSE and explored different factors that affect e-waste recycling rates and propose interventions to increase it. The next project collaborates with NEA and explored attitudes and perceptions that people living in older HDB estates have about household recycling, and propose interventions to increase it. The next project collaborates with HPB and explored reasons that deter young Singaporeans who are of high risk of diabetes from undergoing a diabetes screening, and propose interventions to mitigate it. The next project is presented to URA and explore how different attributes in the physical environment can affect youth social interactions, and propose suggestions to promote more interactions among youth of varied backgrounds. Lastly, I will cover applied psychology projects. These internal projects develop training materials to improve mental health in TP workplace as well as good mental wellness practices. The next project collaborates with AHL and develops games to improve multiple cognitive functions that are declining in dementia patients. The next three projects collaborates with NHG and our student for this project develop growth mindset resources for both teachers and students. The next project also developed growth mindset resources, but this is for early childhood educators and preschoolers for teaching the growth mindset concept. Last but not least, our students develop a great curriculum for primary 2 teachers and students. And that's the end of the overview of projects done in the previous and current academic year. To find out more about the projects done currently, please look forward to the breakout sessions later, where our students will be sharing more about their individual projects in detail. Do ask them questions if you have any. Once again, I wish everyone a good day and thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. I'm sure all of you are excited to find out more about the projects that Charlene has spoken about. And shortly after, on your screen will be 3 QR codes where you will have the 3 project tracks mentioned, which is behavioral insights, social service and special needs, as well as the applied psychology sector. So if you're interested in any of them, you can use your phones and scan the QR codes in front of you shortly. And alternatively, for most of you on your computers, you can click the description box below and access the link. Once the sessions have ended, please do kindly gather back to the YouTube live, and now we shall commence our breakout room sessions.
Hi, Janice.
Hi.
Janice, you can hear me well, right?
Yeah, can hear. I can't see you though.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed listening into the different projects. And now we're moving into the last segment of our program, which is the panel discussion. So over here, discussion panelists will share on their organizations and how students have benefited from their collaborations. So without further ado, I'll invite John, who'll be moderating the panel discussion. John, please.
Do you have the headphones?
Hi there, everyone. Thank you, Claudia. Welcome back, everyone, from the breakout rooms. I hope you've enjoyed the student presentations. Today, we'll now be having a short panel discussion with two of our industry partners, Janice from Reach and Sabrina from NHG. We'll also be having a short audience Q&A session at the end, so if you guys have any questions, there's a link to a Padlet in the YouTube description, and also there should be a QR code on screen now that you can scan for any questions that you have. With that, perhaps we can get the introduction started. Janice, if you're there, you could go first and just maybe introduce yourself a bit about what you do in your organization and your department.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm from a community mental health coordination, which actually stands for Response Early Intervention and Assessment in Community Mental Health. So we are in the east side, and we support school-going children and adolescents from 6 to 18. So it's kind of like primary school all the way to JC level. Yeah. Is that?
Okay,
Yeah.
Sabrina, maybe just give a little introduction about yourself and your organization.
Hi everyone, I'm Sabrina from Population Health, National Healthcare Group. So National Healthcare Group is one of the 3 healthcare clusters in Singapore. We are serving the central population. My department is Living Well Office, and we work with community partners in schools and MOE to look into engaging, empowering, and educating the students towards total wellness.
Okay, super interesting. Let's get into some of the actual questions that we have. So we understand that you guys' organization and our course have been working together for a while to provide lots of different opportunities for our students. Could you guys tell us a bit about how our students work through final year projects, internships, and things like that have aided your organization and just the overall experience of how these events have gone out?
Okay, I'll go first maybe, Sabrina, or do you want to go first?
Over to you.
Okay, sure. So I think I've been working with Temasek Poly for quite a number of years, actually since I started work with Reach, and it has been a great experience so far, and we have done several projects. So I think it's about 5 to 6 projects so far, and we have done things like material development and research-based ones, and also enhancement of the projects that we have done prior. So I think it's really good because it helps to operationalize thoughts and make it into real ideas. Because I think a lot of times, when you're on the ground and working, you have these big ideas, but you never really actually get to kind of, doing a project and get it going. But I think it's good because I think, when we can get to work with students, we get to talk about it. And I think with the help of the lecturers as well, we get to operationalize those, thoughts and making it into something real. So yeah, it's been really, really good. And I think, some of the projects that we have done with them so far, we have trialed it and have run groups in the hospital as well as in schools. Feedback has been great, and we are taking some of the feedback from, the groups that we have run and making it into the next project as well. Yeah, so experience has been really, really good so far, and I hope that it continues this way.
That's great to hear. Sabrina, what about yourself?
Yeah, so we work with Wabiel's team and lecturers for about 3 years now. It's actually greenfield work because we're actually reaching out to schools and MOE to see how we can integrate growth mindset and grit into the curriculum, how to build the mental resilience as well as coupled with nutrition knowledge towards skills that they can apply in their natural setting. So far, the work we've done includes creating growth mindset materials and grit for the few segments of students. We have the overweight students, so there was a separate after-school program that we managed to try out those lesson materials that the students have developed. They were very well received. The students enjoyed the lessons, and the teachers actually liked it, and they wanted to continue with it. Unfortunately, it was COVID last year, and the program was actually suspended. Yeah. Then last year, we continued with the collaboration. So we did preparation work together with the students to look into assimilating grit for primary 2. and also growth mindset for primary 1. There was also a project where we look into assimilating growth mindset into MOE kindergartens as well. Not forgetting that, because we're talking about the ecosystem, right? So it's not just the students, teachers, parents are also important. So we also work with TP to look into developing materials to activate parents and teachers as well. So yeah, it is a wide spectrum of people we work with to actually make a big impact.
I see. Have there been any interesting or particularly interesting projects or stories or even incidents that you guys have might want to share about any of these projects? Maybe Janice?
Okay. Yeah, so I think each project is interesting and exciting in itself, right? Which is why it became a project, and it's kind of endorsed by the poly lecturers as well. And I think each project is a project of need, because I think we really serve the community and we are a community mental health team. So I think it really benefits the population and the clinicians serving them. And I think maybe I'll just talk about the latest project, because I think it's a 3-part project, and I think it's good also because then we can see the continuity. So I think it's really interesting. When I think it was in 2019, I sounded Wapiao out about this project about kind of looking into the mental health literacy amongst the staff population in the special schools, and the awareness, because I think in terms of like kids with intellectual impairments, sometimes we attribute some of the behaviors and the misbehaviors actually to do with the intellectual abilities of these kids and teenagers. So I think what started off as a really casual conversation kind of became a project. So we started off with an exploratory study that looks into what is happening actually within the special schools. So it's really going in with the idea of like not knowing a lot. And I think the interviews really help, because I think, when it's a student interviewing rather than, us interviewing, I think the teachers are not so guarded as well. So we got to find out a lot more. It's not just about, the mental health awareness and literacy, but also some of the other things. They are more free to speak their mind. It's not like, someone that So they kind of become, more free to speak their mind. And we found out that there were things beyond the mental health literacy that there is actually a need, such as systemic issues within the community. And it also helps us to see that, since there's this need, we could actually help in reaching out to the other agencies to kind of also, work with them as well. So it kind of becomes more collaborative as well, based on the feedback, and see how we can actually serve the community a bit better. So it has moved on from just just a casual conversation into an exploratory study, and then now we are actually coming out with manuals, and we are actually looking into how to support families as well. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting, because I think it started off from something that's quite small scale, and it kind of is growing, and you can kind of see also the direction that it's actually going towards.
I see. Okay. What about Sabrina, for yourself? Any projects or stories that you want to tell?
Yeah, so I've shared some of the research projects I've been working on. We've only managed to try out the lessons for the overweight group, as I mentioned, in one of the schools. So I was actually there, because it was train the teacher's approach. So I actually had the chance to use the student materials to be a teacher for a few sessions to actually deliver the lessons to the students, and teachers were observing it. And thereafter, the teachers actually took over and run the lessons themselves. So I followed this group of students, overweight students, who are comprising of primary 1 to primary 4. And that was in 2019, and then followed them through in 2020. Unfortunately, they are still overweight. That's why they're still in the overweight group. Yeah, so I've actually followed the same group, and I do recall some of the memorable moments that arise from the lessons. I think the engagement level is actually very high, because, like I said, we had very good ideas from the TP students, supervised by teachers. They actually try to pack it to the literacy level of the students, so that they could understand. It's not dry and boring. They use, they actually have innovative characters. Like, for example, Riley and Queen, that represents fixed mindset and growth mindset, and the students can actually resonate with it. plus interesting hands-on activities. It was really engaging, and it actually stuck in their mind. So I do recall asking the students, which is year 2, come 2020, when I asked them, hey, what do you recall what you've learned last year? There were like a total of few key messages, and they could shout out, oh, your brain is like a muscle, the power of yet. So it was very encouraging. It shows that the lessons that the students designed were actually effective in terms of, top of the mind recall, and hopefully that in their daily lives, they could actually carry out what was learned. So this is some of the things that actually struck me that, I felt that it was really worth it.
That's really encouraging to hear. What about going forward, though? Do you guys have any projects with your organization that perhaps our year 1 and year 2 students can expect to take part in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I'm sure that there are projects. In fact, we are in the talks of the next project, kind of using the data that we got from the first research in 2019 to kind of broaden it a bit further. So I think there's bits and pieces which, I think aside from the final year projects, I'm not too sure. Perhaps this might be something that, Wapiao and his team would actually decide on, who can take which part of it. Yeah.
Right, I see. So there's nothing concrete yet, is it?
We're in the midst of discussion. So I think for the final year project, there is definitely something, which is what I spoke of earlier, the parent part of it. So we are coming up with parent training, not parent training material, but parent mental health literacy materials, as well as, for children and adolescents with autism and, kind of looking into the mental health as well. So I think, it's quite a big project, and perhaps we could actually split it up. So yeah, that's the FYP part of it, but yeah, the year 1 and year 2 is not really. But I think there's this mentorship program that is actually going on. I'm not too sure if Sabrina has heard about it. So I'm actually taking on two kids every year, and kind of look into day-to-day functioning within my organization and things like that. So perhaps not huge projects, but also small things like that.
Sabrina, what about yourself? Any projects that the year 1s and year 2s can expect to handle or take on?
I would like to say we've only just started. So I think there's a long way to go, a long way to go. So I actually see a long-term collaboration with TP. So I just mentioned some of the segments that we work on, because ours is a longitudinal collaboration with MOE. So it's like the MOE kindergarten, which is 2 years, and then 6 years, primary 1 to primary 6. And we've only started primary 1 and 2 and make some inroads with MK. That's a lot of scope. I'll give you an example. Looking to assimilating, say, growth mindset into nutrition content. 2-in-1, not just standalone topic of mental resilience, but really incorporating into decisions on healthier eating and drinks for the MOE kindergarten. That's one possible thing we could look at. And also looking to maybe more targeted materials for students who might need more support, such as those from the lower SES and so on.
Right, okay. Okay, last but not least, do you guys have any advice for year 3 students like myself who are graduating soon?
Okay, I guess, it really is trying out a lot of things and kind of connecting with people who are in the industry, things that you'll be interested in. I think you can do voluntary work, although there's COVID situation now, but I think there's still a lot of opportunities out there via Zoom and things like that. Connecting with, just people and through the mentorship programs, which I spoke of earlier. So kind of just, putting yourself out there and trying and being open to trying new things as well would be quite interesting, especially, now things are kind of really shifting, and see what, is something that really kind of is of your interest before you kind of move further.
Yeah, I think so too. I think connecting with people is a super important thing to start. Yeah. What about you, Sabrina? Any advice?
I second. Yeah, I totally support what Janice is saying, because being fresh from school, you really don't know what you want, but just having an open mind, so that and explore your interests. So I have two. Basically, I was talking to my team about it, and everything that the main thing is really stay hungry, stay foolish.
Okay. I think we can now start looking at the Q&A session. We can just see if our audience members has any questions here. So I think we have one for Sabrina. Says, "Hey Sabrina, really love the project surrounding DOEC's work. How did your team measure growth mindset, especially for younger kids at the primary level?"
It's not easy actually when you talk about mindset. Because it will differ from time to time and situational and people you are with. So we are actually still exploring what's the best way to understand, but there are many ways to look at the whether there's a student have actually displayed growth mindset is through feedback from teachers. But teachers themselves actually need to be trained because they might not embrace growth mindset. Also feedback from parents as well, because parents ideally should be role models at home. So I don't have a straightforward answer to actually measure growth mindset, but it's a journey that is worth embarking with the schools and really supporting them throughout.
Right, I see. Okay. Next up, we have, are there cases where past materials were not well received by the primary school students? And if yes, how was it improved?
So for the materials that were developed by TP, before we actually roll it out, we actually see input from the school teachers themselves. So inevitably, some of the materials are being modified. And some of the activities also because of operational constraints, such as the lesson time, like you may buffer 30 minutes, but after taking account, settling the kids, taking attendance, you might only have at most 10, 15 minutes. So you might not actually get to carry out the full lessons. So it's really improvising at times. But after that, right, the main thing is that even for teachers right now, they may be given a set of resources. It all depends on situational.
It's a lot of adaptation, right?
That's right.
All right. Okay, next one. Hello, panelist. Is this new and unprecedented era? What future issues do you think will be important for psychology students to tackle?
I think being adaptable, because I think, things are changing very, very rapidly and quickly as well. So I think the first thing is really like back to what we mentioned earlier, just having an open mind and being adaptable, because I think a lot of things that perhaps you learn in class and, through previous internships or even, previously in school might not be so applicable because most of the things are taught in, catered for a more face-to-face manner. But I think really if, we look at things now, a lot of things are kind of, starting out to be online as well. So I think that's interesting as well, because I think sometimes we are a bit resistant, especially if, you're dealing with someone who's a bit more difficult. Being online makes it, is double the difficulty as well. So I think it's really going in with an open mind and kind of just running through things with your colleagues as well or with your friends. Fellow psychologists might be helpful. Yeah. We are learning every day. It's difficult, even on our end as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think with the whole COVID situation, I think there's been a lot of adaptation process that's we've all been through. What about Sabrina for yourself?
I think it's really to keep learning. I really resonate what Janice is saying. You just have to keep learning and just be curious.
Are there any specific issues related to psychology that psychology students should be definitely on the lookout, that we can apply what we've learned to these types of issues?
What do you think, Sabrina? Okay. I think a lot of things that used to be face-to-face, like what I mentioned earlier, at this point in time, we are doing it over video. So even for the group, so we actually did some projects with Temasek Poly before. We actually have group therapy manuals and things like that, which can no longer be used at this point in time, because I think a lot of the activities are actually planned for, within the group and the kids kind of being hands-on, working in groups together. So I think, kind of really actually, sometimes before therapy, I even have to think about, what's a good and fun Zoom game, So I think even, interacting, building rapport, it's become so different these days. Like, so nowadays we just play like, some hangman games and things like that. If the child's not even willing to talk to you, But in the past, when you're face to face, it's a bit easier because there are those non-verbals. Then to make situations even worse, that nowadays in school you have to wear masks, so you can't even see if they're enjoying it themselves, as well. So I think it's really trying to kind of figure out the situation, aside from just reading the non-verbal cues. I think nowadays you need to kind of look at the eyes as well. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of eye emotions.
Yeah, it's like, are the eyes smiling? Okay, kind of flat.
And especially if you wear face masks at work, you can't even see the facial expression at all.
So it's just half up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we
I
have.
would like to say that.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sorry, I just like to say that increasingly, I think staff engagement is actually a very important element to any sustainability. So actually, how do you actually motivate your staff? I mean, if whatever organization that you want to join, being very sensitive about the culture and also about the staff engagement. If you eventually become a manager yourself, how do you continue to motivate your team? And with a remote workforce, this is even more challenging.
Yeah, I think workplace well-being is definitely shifted a lot with the whole COVID situation and work from home even. Yeah. So I think we have one last question from the audience. Thank you for your time here today, panelists. How can us psychology students add value to the organizations presented here? So your guys' organizations. Janice, Serena? Anyone want to go first?
I think the work that we have received and the collaboration, the exchange of ideas from the students and also with the advice of teachers have really greatly added value to the work we're doing. Because and that we are able to also apply it in actual real settings. So that's the big lead.
I agree, Sabrina. That's why I was stunned for a while. Like, most of the things you guys do have been adding a lot of value to the work that we are doing, because it's kind of from ideas and it becomes something where we can kind of actually try it out. Yeah.
Any standout moments from any of our students that that you recall, or anything that has really been like this is what we're looking for?
I think it's really the creativity and the openness and some of the group of students that I've worked with. So I think we actually did some mental health kind of awareness videos as well. And, with really, really limited resources, I think they created really awesome videos, roping in, their parents, their neighbors, and, it almost feels like it's so professionally done, and we're quite impressed by it. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Sabrina, what about yourself?
I think Janice kind of said it all already. So I really love the energy level of the students. They are very enthusiastic and they actually take initiative to actually clarify with us when in doubt. And the quality of work is good. So really, thumbs up. Or double thumbs up.
I hope you two students are taking note that there's been a high standard set. So we can
it gets better every year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think if there's no more questions, then I'd like to thank you two very much for taking the time to come down to this e-conference and sharing your experiences and everything like that. I hope our audience has also enjoyed themselves. Hope they've definitely learned a thing or two, because I definitely have. And again, just thank you two very, very much for coming down, and I'll pass the time back to Claudia.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, panelists and John. They were indeed very insightful conversations. And we've actually come to the end of our program. So on behalf of everyone here, we would like to extend our thanks to students, my classmates who have put in much effort, teachers, and of course, panelists and guests of honors for gracing us with your presence this afternoon. So once again, we actually have our token of appreciation for Dr. Ng, Ms. Janice, and Ms. Sabrina. And in all, we hope you've enjoyed and learned much from this year's conference. See you next year. Thank you.